Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Once again, it's time for another episode of the Dad Bod to Daddy training. Today was back in bicep day and went back to what I had been doing of just doing everything overhand for the back, because I've come to realize I feel like my bicep development's come along pretty well, and as long as I do the bicep work really hard, I think they'll continue to make progress. So as far as the back stuff goes, the reason I'm doing this, I want to make sure my posterior delts are getting a lot of work. In a lot of my upper back, because when I've had actual people assess, they're like, side delts, rear delts, triceps. Those are your weakest links, and they'll make the most difference for you as you cut down. Again, when I've talked to actual coaches who compete or have competed in bodybuilding, who I know and get along with, friends with. So with that in mind, I want to make sure that that whole upper back area does get worked. So I want to make sure it's not favoring the biceps entirely like I've been doing with chins and underhand grip rows for the past couple weeks. So again, I fully am aware that my lats are probably my best muscle group. But I still want to make sure they're getting good training in. So I've kind of gone a little back and forth with that. But the thing is, I'm always doing pull-ups or chin-ups and some type of row. So that stays in there constant, and I push those hard. So what I did on these, the same thing, overhand grip rows. And again, grip can really be a problem on these sometimes for a lot of people. And I feel like it almost limits me, but not quite. So I'm going to keep up with what I'm doing there. But this is also a big part of my grip training and forearm work, is to do all this stuff raw. But as I've said previously, all the hanging leg raises, I feel like it does leave my grip fatigue throughout the week a little bit. So I'm doing everything with my grip, never really recovered through the week until we get around to Mondays. And that's okay, because eventually it will all continue to catch up. My forearms are going to keep growing. The other thing, again, I've noticed since I've way upped my fiber again, doing a little more carbohydrate, I am picking up a little bit of water around the waistline, but that's okay. It's definitely not going to be body fat gain, and I'm not worried about it, because as I've said before, really the key is, as long as I continue to get leaner, I'm not going to worry about if I'm holding a little water, unless I need to drop carbs down just to look lean. But that's really a fake lean, isn't it, right? Dropping water weight to look leaner isn't really losing fat. So right now I want to focus on getting the best training possible, continuing to recomposition the best I can, try to lose body fat but make any muscle gains that I can. And a lot of that does involve me kind of keeping the volume moderated a little bit, making sure I'm not overtraining, because again, I don't have a calorie surplus right now. So with a lot of this, I'm looking at set quality instead of just continuing to add more and more volume. So with the curls, we're doing everything to failure. And even the 6 sets of just curls I did after doing the back work today, I really felt a tremendous amount of biceps. My biceps were on fire, they were lit up. And it actually got harder with my exercises to even sustain performance. All right, the rows we did okay. I was able to replicate performance set to set while leaving no reps in reserve on like the pull-ups, for example. But as I got into the curls, it's like for these curls, I got like 12, and then I think like 11, and then maybe 10 or 11 on the third set. But what I'm doing on a lot of this stuff for the biceps, to really make sure that my arms do get really good work when I'm not doing the large amounts of volume, is again focus on set quality, rep quality. I want every single rep, to feel it hard in my biceps. And what I'm doing on all these also is, when I get to a rep that's slow and I'm struggling to get it up, I try to squeeze it and then I lower it under control. So I try to get a slow eccentric on the very last rep when I know I've pretty well reached muscle failure, right? Because if we get near the top, the load gets unloaded just a hair, so we can kind of finish those reps that we're grinding through, that we know we almost can't get, right? So a 0 rep in reserve. So then what I do on each of those, I try to fight the eccentric on the way back down. And I'm not going to do that on every rep, because I don't think it's beneficial necessarily, especially if I'm losing reps to do it. But when we get right there at the end, I want to make sure that very last rep that I know I've reached failure, I know I can't do another rep, right? We can tell because how much the bar slows down, straining through it. Try to just control the eccentric, and I did it on all my sets of curls. And you're going to see it even more pronounced on the preacher curl because we can't use any sort of movement to help me leverage that last bit. But right there you saw that curl. And then try to just lower it under control, fight against it, make sure that we're getting all the available muscle fibers. So again, even though I feel like my biceps have come a long way, I do want to really, really continue to push them hard. Whereas in stuff like the lats, I can just do hard sets as long as they're close to failure. Like I don't worry so much to the same degree. But muscles that I really, really need to grow, things like arms that I care about that have been historic weak links, yeah, we're really making sure to do that. But I've definitely noticed the inability to replicate sets. So even with the curls here, I got like 8 and then 7 or 7, something like that. So right there, you're going to see that 8th rep, I'm struggling to bring it up, and then we lower it under control all the way as far as to my full range of motion, which for me, that is where my elbows lock out. I've demonstrated that multiple times from different angles for people who didn't believe it. But I feel good about the way my shoulders are starting to look here, because I know, again, delts and triceps, particularly side and rear delts, probably weak links. But as I'm getting up off the bench there each time, I do want to note, I feel like my shoulders are improving. And as I've said, as I continue to lose body fat and continue to get leaner, all of that will become more pronounced. But as I've said, right now, I really do want to focus on continuing to bring up weak links. I still am training hard, trying to get everything to grow while I'm cutting. But again, one of the keys to that is looking at it and having no jump volume, right? Maybe the rear delts might get a little jump volume, who knows? But as far as everything else goes, it's like, let's get in and just get quality sets. So 6 really good sets for lats, 6 really good sets for biceps. And again, all the bicep sets are taken as far as they can go. We're going to failure and then really fighting through that last eccentric rep. And I'm also picking, good basic exercises. I mean, I could throw some dumbbell work in also, but I personally feel these particular movements, as far as barbell movements go, I really feel a ton of activation. So again, doing the really strict curls all the way up through their full range of motion to where I bring it to the face and come all the way down. Again, great bicep activation, and then the same thing here, particularly the lower bicep on the preacher curls. And again, this forces me to be extremely strict, right? So we don't cheat on the preacher curls at all. I lock myself kind of into a position to where I can't lay back. I don't allow myself to lay back. I just keep fighting through the rep. And then we finish up with 1 set of hanging leg raises like we do on most of the workouts. And again, I think I got around 12 or so of these this time. So again, just to finish off the abs, to finish off my grip, and to get a little bit of shoulder mobility. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.